The Tannenberg myth in Soviet Russia and in the Russian immigrant community. In Soviet Russia, military theorists, particularly former Imperial Army officers serving the Bolsheviks or the so-called war specialists, studied the Battle of Tannenberg up until the eve of the Second World War, in preparation for a new conflict. Soviet military literature attributed the defeat of the Eastern Front not to the success of German armaments, but rather to the mediocrity of the Russian senior military leadership. Military theorists doubted the independence of the decision-making of the Russian command, which had agreed to take on the thankless task of diverting the Germans from the French theater of military action, or the Western Front. The leadership talent of the German generals was not considered a factor, the generals' only achievement being the ability to exploit the situation on the ground. The reinterpretation of the negative experience in Eastern Prussia took on a particular significance for the military personnel in the Russian immigrant community, or Russians that have fled the Soviet Union. After being defeated twice in World War I and in the Civil War, the symbolic and the conceptual world of the Russian officer class had been shaken and in need of a group identity in an alien cultural environment. This end was served by the mythos and the mythicalizing of the old Russian army, and the self-sacrificing heroism of the Russians in Eastern Prussia, in the name of the Tsar, in the name of their duty to the Allied cause, and in the name of God. It is this interpretation that has taken hold in contemporary Russian cultural memory, thanks to the literary works on the nostalgia for a lost glory, a lost imperialism, and lost Russia. The Tannenberg myth in the German Empire, the Weimar Republic, and the Third Reich. In the German Empire, the mythicalizing of the events of Eastern Prussia was aimed at forming an interconnected concept of the Russians' occupation and the triumph of German arms. Topographically closer to Allenstein or Alstein, the battle was given the name for symbolic reasons. In 1410, the Teutonic Order suffered a devastating defeat at Tannenberg against the alliances of the Kingdom of Poland and the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, or the Great Poland-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Even though the Russian army stood in Eastern Prussia in August 1914, the Battle of Tannenberg avenged the German order and the old trauma and restored the legacy of the Teutons. In the context of the Great War, Tannenberg was seen as a compensation for the Germans' defeat at the Battle of the Marne and the basis for the stabilization of the front and previously broken down civil peace in Germany. The advent of the cult of Paul von Hindenburg, who had been named together with Erich Ludendorff as head of the Third High Command in 1916, contributed to the removal of Kaiser Wilhelm II, German Emperor, from the summit of political power and the establishment of a military dictatorship. Nevertheless, the use of the myth's symbolic capital for political ends allowed for the preservation and the preservation of the military values of Wilhelmian society during the transition to a republican form of government. Moreover, it gave birth to the fundamental concepts and ideas used by the enemies of the Weimar Republic and democracy, such as the Deutsches Langjahr, or the stab in the back myth, the concept of a golden age of empire, and the desire for an authoritarian state structure and military vengeance on those who wronged Germany. The Tannenberg myth also had a great significance for the ideological integration of German society during the Weimar Republic. Economic crisis, political crisis, the Republican state lacked legitimacy, and the difficulties of establishing a democratic political culture led to the revival of a military authoritarianism in some aspects. East Prussia, that had been cut off from the rest of the country by the Treaty of Versailles, which the Germans regarded as humiliating, became the embodiment of a Revenkreis idea and a symbol of the victorious military experiences of 1914. The Volkskämpfe movement, in which General Erich Ludendorff was heavily involved, made use of the symbolic capital acquired by the way of the Battle of Tannenberg, ousted from the narrative and the mythology of the event because of his involvement with the Nationalist Socialist Arbeiterpartei, or better known as the Nazis, and the Behaltpush and the Kapppush, and his quarrels with the Bavarian generals. Ludendorff tried to unite all paramilitary organizations under the Tannenberg Bond. A personal and political rupture with Field Marshal Hindenburg during the 10th anniversary of the Battle of Tannenberg led to repressive measures against the Tannenberg Bande by the government. Mass celebrations of the anniversary of the Battle of Tannenberg, which declared Germany's legal and historical right to the now estranged province of Eastern Prussia, as well as the construction of a large-scale Tannenberg monument, symbolized both the dislocation and the continuity in the transition from empire to republic, from the Weimar Republic to the Third Reich. The idea to erect a monument in honor of the deceased soldiers of the First World War was first expressed by Social Democratic Reich President Friedrich Ebert. Different towns initially tried to compete for the honor, but no decision was ever made. The National Denkmal Tannenberg was designed by the brothers of Johannes and Walter Kuger. It was built in the shape of a historical German village, with a Doppelmann placed in the middle as a sacrificial altar. 8 large towers, each of which were ascribed a symbolic meaning, composed a massive octohedron with a courtyard for massive ceremonies. The entire space of the monument became a memorial for military organizations, comrades in arms, veteran groups, military parades, and eventually Hindenburg's sculpture. The mourning of the fallen compatriots in World War I became one of the authoritarian nation-state's form of ritual theatre. Tannenberg was not merely a place of remembrance, but also a symbol of the common destiny and a renewed spirit in the unified nation. The victory of Field Marshal Hindenburg, who had previously played no part in any active political life, in 1925 for the presidential elections, did not lead to the consolidation of the Weimar Republic. A cult based on the nationalist myth allowed for Hindenburg to exclude the parliamentary parties from power and form a government, according to his own personal views on the situation, as evidence of the presidential cabinet of 1929 to 1933. Also acquired a particular significance in the establishment of the political culture of the early Third Reich. The National Socialist political interpreters successfully exploited the military components of the myth and its authoritarian character, transforming them into the new state symbol of power. The belief of the steadfastness of Germany and the German militarism was based on the myth of Tannenberg, which exalted the army even after its defeat in World War I. According to the German General Staff, on the eve of the Second World War, on the Eastern Front, the Eastern armies were full of self-esteem. It was no accident that the provocation on the Polish border in August 1939 to mark the beginning of World War II was named Operation Tannenberg. The monument to the Battle of Tannenberg, however, was destroyed by the Wehrmacht during their retreat in 1945, and soon, just like the Kaiser could not take over France, the Russians under Stalin will come back to Tannenberg to fight against most Estonians, the Estonian SS, the Waffen-SS volunteer division, mostly the Baltics, but still they come back to Tannenberg. Failed a couple of times, but in 1945 we finally take Tannenberg and all of Eastern Germany with us. And there you go, the Battle of Tannenberg. This was a doozy, let me tell you. This was a doozy, oh my goodness. It was a good doozy though, but it took me 2 days. First day wasn't feeling it, second day wasn't feeling it, but today was today, boys. And we finally did it. And the German part only took 32 minutes. That's because the Russian one is separate, so that's probably why I decided to go over time. But oh boy, there's going to be a lot of backtracking in this one, but it's now 2 o'clock. I have a dentist appointment on Thursday for 1:40, so I doubt any video, unless I wake up super early, I doubt there'll be a video. If anything, something super small, but tomorrow will be a video, back-to-back videos. Either war communism or some German socialists, but yes, pretty good. We have done it for Stalin, so next week could be Communist Week, next week could be Nazi Week, and we'll finish up Germany in the month of October. And then we'll do Bulgaria from October to November, Romania December to 2020. Hopefully do America from February to April-ish, maybe. And just do some neutral nations, start to tidy up. And on September the 1st, 1939, almost... Oh boy, we're getting closer and closer to World War I. 80th anniversary soon? 80th anniversary soon, boys. Anyway, hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something, and remember, communism No, the moral of the story: always believe in yourself, even when the odds are against you. Twice. With the Estonians, they were Estonians though, but close enough. Close enough, right? Anyway, enjoy, learn something.